Welcome back into Social Replay. Captain, Monday morning. How we doing, my man?
Monday morning. Yes, sir. I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
We're good. Lyra's birthday was yesterday.
Hey.
The big 7.
Yeah.
Big 7 for the little lady. So that was a fun day. We took her to one of these pumpkin patches that have the hay rides and whatever.
Of course I do.
Of course you do. And now we've talked about the extravaganza for the 1-year-old birthday we had in May. That was just bananas. We're being a little more reasonable here.
No bounce houses this time? No bounce house?
No bounce houses this time around. We thought about it. We were going to do one next weekend. Whole thing again. Let's just say the cost expenditure right now is not the wisest thing for the situation given. So we're like, all right, we got to do other stuff. So we took her to this pumpkin patch. We were talking about going there. Anyway, the thing that I found fascinating about this is they have the hay ride, but they also have these horses and a couple ponies. I'm talking 100-yard lap, maybe 100-yard lap. $20 a pop, all cash. It's a dad and his 2 daughters. And he pulls out this wad. I mean, bro, the wad, I feel like I was in Vegas. I mean, it was just the biggest, thickest thing of 20s. And there's a line of 15 kids just nonstop all day. I was like, this guy has to have the most cash in the county right now. It was unbelievable business. And everybody's doing it. Highway robbery, just hand over fist. Didn't care.
Sure, he's reporting it all.
Exactly.
Did the animals look happy? Did they look happy with their lot in life?
You know who also didn't look happy beyond the animals? His daughters that were walking him around just looked like they were miserable. Just freaking miserable.
Yeah, I bet.
Had earbuds in both ears, which I can't imagine is a safety and helping safety right there.
Right.
And just slowly walking him around. Now, Lyra had an awesome time. Was on her. It was a horse, they had a couple ponies. That was like a horse. She loved it. All 30 seconds of it. But it's one of those things where it was almost reminding me of Field of Dreams, where when he's giving his speech, he's like, and they will come and they will pay and they will go hand over fist without even thinking about it. As the nostalgia washes over them, nobody's even contemplating the price. The kids are excited. They're seeing other kids do it. I mean, it's just we're just giving them hand over fist. Nobody's even batting an eye when he says 20. Just handing them the money. It was unreal.
Yeah, that's funny, man. It's amazing what things like that you cost is not like parking. We've talked about this before. Parking at events is the same way. Like, I'll $50. Okay, if I can park right there, $50, no problem. All in cash.
All in cash, dude. And they got you by the stones there. There's just no other way to go. But we had a good day. She had a great time. We'll continue.
7 years old.
Tonight. 7, bro. I mean, this stuff's just crazy. How fast this thing goes. It's bananas. But I have to remind myself of that as I'm staring at Dace yesterday and be like, dude, stop screaming. Just stop. Stop it, please. For the love of God. But we're working through it. Anyway, 7, pretty crazy. But it's not going to be an extravaganza, but it's going to be, obviously, we're doing stuff today. Next week, we got, other family maybe coming in town. Lyra's going to be partied out, so we got some good stuff for her. And then into Halloween. How do you guys handle Halloween, by the way? Are you a big Halloween family?
Well, real quick, can I ask a personal question?
Absolutely, sir.
How are you managing the birthday with the ex? How does that go down?
See, I thought about this earlier. I wanted to bring this up. Good teammate right there. Bring me back right into the zone that I wanted to get into.
Go ahead. You have the floor. Take as much time as you need.
Well, for legal purposes, I'll be brief. It ain't good, bro. It's like everything. Like this person will, she will make an argument that the sky is green if I say it's blue. It's just so anything around what I think is in Lyra's best interest is always a battle. So. That was part of why we didn't do – last year she had 2 separate parties. Her mom did this princess thing with only girls invited. We did the whole bounce house with the neighborhood and all the kids in the class, boys and girls and whatever. And that was good for us. It was first year in school, getting people, getting to know some parents and getting more ingratiated in the community. And it's great. But, yeah, I mean, anything in that realm is just a challenge. And I just want her to be happy and have fun. And I'm not sure that's always reciprocated. So that was part of why we're still trying to, even with this upcoming Sunday, we'll have her all Sunday. Yesterday, it's legally mandated. I have 2 hours with her on her birthday if she's out of school. If I'm not, it's not my parenting day. So we had to find something to do for those 2 hours. Which, to be real, it is really sad. Like you wake up, you can't tell your kid happy birthday because her mom won't read the texts. That's hard. The beginning part of the day is hard, and then when you get to see her all excited and awesome 2 hours, and you're kind of bummed again. So I'm excited to get her off the bus today and. We get to go read will go to school today and read her story. And so still thing like let you do on her birthday is come in and read the whole class's story. So excited for that. But that's also what like next week's. It's like, did we want to have a party for Lyra to have the party? Or are we doing this in like competition with her mom, which is completely unhealthy? And I know Lyra would love to have a big party again, but like it just didn't make sense for all of us right now. But we'll still do doing other things. It's around Halloween, obviously, which, you know, big. I think there's like a big thing in our town next Sunday. So we're trying to find the balance. But you're right. There's never. Let me this is a great way to put it back to you in some regard. Like there's like a pressure that I feel and we feel with trying to navigate this. When your kids come, and now obviously birthdays are important to kids. Did you feel that, or do you feel that as your kids are coming up on their birthday? Is there like a pressure to like deliver?
Not that I feel, but yeah. I mean, that's been one of the things that we really go all in on. But where the pressure dials back is with the number of other people you're involving in terms of family. So we're not, you know, when they're the age of certainly Dace, and you talked about it when he had his first extravaganza, you got to invite the entire world. I mean, third cousins, come on over, birthday party.
Let's go. First
birthday. That gets dialed back, and it's much more. It becomes much more about friends coming over. This is actually a funny story. Because and my wife has been a dynamo with these birthdays. I mean, she takes it, and you're talking about somebody who this is not a thing in my family, and of course I'm now resentful about it. Where were my parties when I was? But Jamie's a dynamo with it. I mean, he just takes it very seriously and all of that, to the point where John is now a sophomore in high school. He's 15 years old, and she either asked him about what he wanted to do for his birthday or he went to her, but the conversation was centered around, is it okay if I still want to have a birthday party? You know, at sophomore in high school, is that still a thing? You know, where I can invite friends, birthday party, etc. And she said, because he wants to do it at a karting place. He wants to go, and they do these really cool things at these karting places where you can do like a Grand Prix where you do a qualifying.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then on the track, they have the where you line up in the order of your qualifying, and then you do a Grand Prix. So it's really cool. And then this place over near the airport that we go to also have these golf simulators. So it's just a dope time. I mean, like an awesome way to spend an afternoon with friends. So she's like, yeah, I mean, regardless of your birthday, just having a bunch of friends doing that would be awesome. But yeah, that's where it sort of dials back to where it's not so much family anymore. Certainly friends are involved, but then it's like, okay, it's like trick or treating. Like, when do we get a point where this is no longer acceptable?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, I think it's a really kind of astute question for John. But bear in mind, I mean, adults are having birthday parties for themselves up until they're 30, 40.
Right.
So by all means, John David, go have fun. Yeah, you're gonna be. He's gonna be 16, right?
16, yeah, man, driving.
16, that's crazy.
Yeah, he'll be driving.
But that is a cool. Yeah, I'm 40, got to be 42. I'd love to do what he just said. Like that sounds like a fun time. So I mean, yeah, I hope that's cool. But I think that's interesting that like as you pair out family, it becomes less stressful. I can see that for sure. I just wonder with the dynamic with her mom. Hopefully, over the years ahead, this is not the existence. But to say that I'm pessimistic is a massive understatement. But so is life.
Well, as long as Lyra's coming through, man, I know it's.
She's great. She's good. There's some other. I mean, there's some things she's dealing with, but I mean that. Again, we're trying to help her through. But other than that, I mean, she's by and large just doing really well. Teacher says she's excited like every day at school. She's super sweet. She's the most empathetic person on the planet, which I don't know where that comes from, honestly. And that was like, her mom would talk about empathy a lot when she was really little, and I'm like, what? So that I think is definitely something her mom entered into both our worlds. That was good for Lyra. But yeah, she's doing good. She's doing great. Enjoying her birthday party. She did say yesterday. I didn't hear it. Kels heard it. Like it, because she does verbalize gratitude a lot. We talk about being grateful for things all the time, every night. You go to bed, like, what are you grateful for today? It's something that, again, I wasn't raised to think that way as much. And I think it's good to like articulate it. But she has just like looked around. She goes, I am so happy. And I was like, good. Because then that's I'm talking about we're under pressure. I feel pressure, but as long as she's happy, then mission accomplished.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
We'll come back to you're right. We'll come back to more Halloween because we're coming up on it, and I do. Let me ask you a question. I think next week I've already got mine planned, Halloween related, but we'll get to there. We'll get there when we get there in the coming weeks. Let's get into some topics here. The big conversation last week was James Franklin's firing from Penn State. This weekend, Billy Napier is let go. Mike Norvell from Florida State is on a cooking hot seat as they started 3-0. Now they just lost to Stanford 2013 as 17.5 point favorites. They have not won. The Florida State Seminoles have not won an ACC game in over 390 days. It's bananas when you think about how long that is. So when you look at what these coaches' situations are, I'll just open a broad spectrum to you as we've gone through the last 10 days. What has been your reaction, your thought about this?
Yeah, I think first of all, man, I think the timing of these firings, or fires, they are dumpster fires. Debatable on what degree, but yeah, I think the timing is the first thing that sticks out. And I would also lump in. I would lump in these retirements that we're now seeing, certainly in college basketball. Like Bruce Pearl retiring, weeks before the season. Tony Bennett last year doing it, and in those particular cases, obviously a retirement and a firing are different. But the timing, I think, is the pathology of the timing of these events is about one thing, and it's about retaining players. Like most people with the retirements, Tony Bennett doing it last year and Bruce Pearl think that, well, those guys are doing that in the a la Dean Smith to tie the school's hands to hiring the individual that they want. I don't think that's true. It's certainly in the case of Auburn. I think Auburn wanted to hire Stephen Pearl. I mean, they kept his dad on as a special assistant, and they gave Stephen a 5-year contract. I think they did that eyes wide open. This is about retaining players. This is about tying the hands of players. In the case of basketball players, what are they going to do if Bruce Pearl retires when he did? I mean, you get a 15-day window to transfer, but you've already started school at Auburn. Their two best players are making in the $1 million range in NIL. Where are you going to go? No school has that type of money left to give. I think there's an unethical piece to that. I really do. I think you're putting players in a really tough spot, and I understand that there's this opposition now between coaches and athletic departments and players, more so perhaps than there's ever been because of it's much more transactional. But I think there's an unethical piece to that. I think this firing in the firing of James Franklin, I think it's about the same thing. Like if the head coach, remember they changed the redshirt rule in college football that you can play 4 games and still preserve a redshirt. Mm-hmm. I think the firing of Billy Napier, I think it was in the cards in week 2 when they lost to South Florida. I think they had it in their mind, we're going to fire this guy for a number of different reasons. But if you fire him then all of those, then you have an exodus of players. They all can preserve a red shirt and say, I'm out of here. But you do it now, which is, we're coming up on their second bye week. They have Georgia in 2 weeks. So obviously that plays into the timing. But now you have put these players in a position where what are they going to do? I mean, we're almost halfway through the season. They no longer have their red shirt. And they have a window here. I think it's either a 50. They may have changed it to a 15-day window.
That it was 30 up until this just got passed last week or so. Week or so, they're redoing the transfer rules. Part of it now is that window is 15 days. But this class will be 30 days. Either way, to your point, it's not a long time to make this decision. And you're in the middle of the season.
And so I think that's what the timing. Obviously, they won this past weekend, dicey, but they still won. I think a lot of it has to do with this retaining of players. And remember when it used to be taboo to fire a coach in college in the middle of the season? Like that used to be taboo. Now, obviously, we're a long way from that, but.
That even the notion that sentence that made my eyes like, well, yeah, that's right. That was a thing at some point, but that seems so far gone. But it isn't that long ago. I mean, that's 6-7 years ago. That was a really bold move. Now it's kind of expected. I haven't thought about it from the player perspective piece of this thing, especially with the college basketball coaches. Because I really felt like, Tony wanted Ron Sanchez to have his shot. I think your Pearl situation is different. I think all these situations are similar in terms of how they went down, but there are nuance with each one that is a little different. When you look at the player piece of it, from a football standpoint, you're right. They've that year is lost for them eligibility wise, and they can enter the portal technically if they wanted to transfer right now. But you don't necessarily know where the coaching carousel is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So you're playing out this season, dead season essentially, and you will likely enter the transfer portal or wait and see who Florida hires as a head coach in December. Now that the window now opens I think January 2nd. So you're going to wait until that time and figure out where you're going. Now, granted, all your handlers, your family, they're on the phone right now with coaches all over the country trying to figure out where they fit before the actual window opens. We all are very well aware of that. So from a football standpoint, I think you're hose the guy's season. From a basketball standpoint, I do think it's a matter of they're even more hamstrung because they're not going to leave before the season starts, to your point. Like, they were worried Todd Pettiford in particular was going to leave for Auburn. He wasn't going anywhere. And that they had the 30 days, and now everybody's staying there. You're kind of stuck. So I think your point is interesting with the opposition between the administration and the players. But I will say this: I really can't fault the administration. They have very little. The power is now swung so far in the players' direction. How do you control some of this stuff? How do you manage some of this stuff? This is business. This is high-level, multi-billion-dollar business we're dealing with now here. And you realize how these players, they are employees. And most companies, whether they say how they treat their employees, they're going to do what's in best interest of the brand, of the company, despite what their employees think and feel. So that, I think, is reflective of big business, is how they're approaching this thing to be like, yeah, it may suck for that 20-year-old kid, but this is what's best for our organization, and we just don't care.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying, and I've said this to you before. I don't feel bad for either side. We have created this mess, and now players are getting paid. Certainly not a percentage relative to the entire enterprise. I mean, I think we would both agree they probably deserve more. But look, everybody's getting paid. This is now professional sports. I don't feel bad for either side. They're all players are now represented. Players at the highest level are now represented. And anyway, the other thing that I find not fascinating, just interesting about the whole dynamic is the signaling to fan bases now, especially when it comes to college football. I mean, all of Scott Strickland's, the AD at Florida, of course, all of his quotes coming out of this firing are, "We at Florida are committed to competing in college football at the highest level." Mm-hmm. I mean, they fired Dan Mullen if he made an SEC championship game. They go out and get a coach at Louisiana. And that's the other dynamic here that's also fascinating to me. Like Mike Norvell, you mentioned, coming from Memphis. Mm-hmm. You go down to a lower than power, a group of 5 level, and you're getting these coaches who, I don't know if there's anything there or not. I think a lot of that has to do with money, because you hire guys from Memphis or Louisiana. You don't have to pay their assistant coaches as much. But anyway, I find that piece of it interesting. But this is all about signaling to your fan base. And that's, everybody's making a big deal about these buyouts. The willingness to pay the buyout is a signal to the fan base. College football is so important now, especially at a Big Ten school or an SEC school, everywhere, but certainly at those places, that all of those quotes were about, we are willing to do whatever is necessary to win at football.
This is what I think people have to fully grasp. I mean, Jim Clements, the Clemson president, told me this in 2019. He said football literally remade our entire university. We went from little old Clemson, as Dabo used to say as a joke, but it was true. You asked 90% of people across the country, what or where is Clemson? No clue in 2013. But you begin to be relevant in the league. You then become national. You get national championships. Their out-of-state tuition has skyrocketed. That cost of that is so much higher. They have invested all that in facilities for their athletics programs to maintain at a high level across other athletics programs. And their facilities, from soccer to their new softball program to football, are outstanding. But they've invested in the school over and over again, and that capacity has grown. Their academic piece has grown. The whole place has been remade in a decade because football was good. With that said, I think what bothered me a little bit about the reaction, especially, let's go with the James Franklin specific, I think, example, because we talk about the buyout money. His buyout, $49 million. Mike Norvell's maybe $55 million as they mold this right now. Billy Napier's was $21. You think back to Willie Taggart in 2019. That's another Florida State head coach, folks, that got let go. His was 18. That seemed insane. That was 6 years ago. 6 years ago. Jimbo Fisher's $76 million from A&M, 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. That is wild. That's the highest one we've ever seen. The national media's reaction to James Franklin being fired. Yes, he was top 5 in FBS and wins over the last 10 years, but he hadn't won a league championship since 2016. We went over this before, 1-18 against top 10 Big Ten opponents, your peers that you feel that are your peers. You're 1-18, 4-21 in top 10 opponent games across leagues. The national media was kind of shocked at the whole thing. And there was a lot of, can't believe this happened, where are we at, blah, blah, blah. This is akin to politics to me, because politics is local and politics is personal. And when feelings and thoughts become beliefs, it is hard to change those beliefs. And if you talk to any Penn State fans over the last 2 or 3 years, they were out on James Franklin. They knew the numbers, and they'd watch the games. They watch every game. And they particularly see the Big Ten, top 10 games, and they've been embarrassed by those. And they don't think he can win the big one. That was said and felt throughout that fan base. If you go back to 2016, go back to November 8, 2016. I assume you know what day that is?
No.
Election Day, 2016.
Oh, of course.
So let me paint the picture for you.
I've put it out of my mind, clearly.
I blacked out shortly thereafter. Let me paint the picture for you as I'm driving down, Broward Avenue in Fort Lauderdale. It's a major intersection right off of 95, and there are people honking their horn and holding up Trump signs left and right. Now, I'm bringing home food to go cook dinner for what I think is a coronation, because I've read the New York Times for the last 6 months. I've read the Washington Post. I've read the Wall Street Journal. It seems like a wrap. So I'm coming in thinking, hey, first ever female president, what's going to happen next? The Obama mantle going forward, blah, blah, blah. I get home, my now ex-wife says, I tell her the story about the intersection. And she goes, yeah, did you see any Hillary people out there? I said, no, just a bunch of Trump people. And I'm scoffing at it. And she's like, this is why I'm worried. Because they're out there. And this state is huge. Florida was the linchpin. We knew that. And we lived in a state. We moved there just in time to get registered to vote, to have a vote that actually mattered. First time in my life that I had a vote that mattered at a national level. Anyway, as we are sitting there and the night's starting to go on and you start to see things turning, and then Florida starts to go in a certain direction. And then around 10 o'clock, they called Florida. And she was like, I told you. Went to bed. Mm-hmm. The politics of local, and she was making her point too. She goes, I work in an office where I talked to a bunch of people that I knew this existed. Look at how they felt. Look at what they believed was going on in the country and how they could change it. Like, that local feel was replicated when they did the postmortem across the country. All the national media missed the local piece of this. They weren't talking to the people in the states, in the counties, in the towns, not the cities, that ended up driving the election in 2016. Now, the electorate has been changed and it's very different, but the point remains the same now. If you aren't connected to the actual locality, the national landscape or the national POV is almost worth trash to me. And in particular, college sports is akin to this, because those thoughts and those feelings that we have in politics or we have with our sports teams that sometimes are irrational, sometimes aren't based in fact, become belief. And you had a Penn State fans believe that he would no longer be able to win the big one, that James Franklin couldn't get it done. And you mentioned signaling to your fan base. Pat Kraft said as much in his thing. Well, he cited the record against top 10 opponents. He was saying what the fans had said. He then now was agreeing with them in an administrative position to fire James Franklin. I don't have a problem with them doing it. I don't have an issue with the timing in that instance, because this was a situation where I believe it was untenable from how these beliefs had been codified, and the political landscape, I think, has convinced me of such that this was not going to change. He would have to win the next 4 or 5 against Ohio State and Michigan to get rid of that. And if he still didn't get you to the CFP semifinals like he did last year, he was probably gone anyway, because the beliefs had been codified in my mind.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot to that. A friend of mine the other day used the expression calibration of expectation. How you go into something, how your expectations of anything are calibrated in reality. And in a world where you can trust less, how is that impacting your expectation? I think fan bases like Penn State's, Florida's, take it to Kentucky in basketball. I think those are what make, in many ways, college athletics what it is. But those fan bases also operate with a calibration of expectation that is probably outside of reality.
Yeah.
I mean, when you end up firing a guy like Dan Mullen, especially after the Jim McElwain situation, I mean, you end up firing a guy like Dan Mullen for making an SEC championship. You are not, your expectations are outside reality. Now, I understand the James Franklin thing is a little bit different to me because I do think there's a lot to be said about how you are competing and producing against the best. Mm-hmm. But when we were talking about them losing to Oregon during the whiteout a couple weeks ago, part of it was, well, there was this expectation of Penn State coming into the year. They were a top 5 team, right? There were 3, I think.
2, I think, like when they played the game. Oh, no, there were 3 when they played the game. 3 and 6, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, there's this expectation of who they were coming into the year. Now, was the result or were the results this year a product of bad coaching, or were they a product of expectations that were outsized relative to the roster? And so I think that has a lot to do with this. And this idea that the grass is going to be greener, has obviously that's forever. I mean, that's forever in college athletics when it comes to certainly coaching, hiring and firings. But the other thing, the other optics piece with Franklin is you just never gotta. And Billy Napier to that extent. I mean, why Billy Napier? He gets hired because he's this offensive guru. And he does all the play calling. He's the offensive play caller for Florida. And the offense has progressively gotten worse every year. Every year. And yet that dude refused. In a day and age where more and more head coaches are giving over play calling duties because there's just so much. Just so much. That dude refused to do that even when his name was on the chopping block. So that says something about that dude. Like, okay, all right, buddy. And it's the same with James Franklin. I never got a real sense. So that also, in terms of the connection that fans are having, if you are not producing, that's where Bill Belichick, when he's with the Pats, who cares if he's like scoffing and treating, undermining and patronizing the media and fans to a degree. Well, the guy wins Super Bowl. I mean, it's just this sort of, that also has a rubbing off effect that I think, nobody had any affection for either of those two guys. And Mike Norvell's the same way. You've talked to Mike Norvell.
We both have. Yeah, it is the ultimate results-based business. And if the ends can justify the means. As long as you're winning, you can basically do whatever you want. It's when you're not winning that you usually have to adjust, adapt, and there has to be some self-reflection. I mean, Norvell got rid of most of his staff last year when they went 2-10. They kind of remade a lot of different pieces there. You look at Billy Napier's point with the play calling, to not adjust in that regard when the administration supposedly wanted him to. His situation is they were 22-23. Like you're sub 500 in Florida like that. It's inexcusable for what their expectations are and the money that they think they're paying. Have they performed like that in recent years to expect in the SEC? And they've had brutal schedules this year and last year. To be beating these teams, not realistically, but doesn't matter. This is what Florida expectation level is. This is whether they're calibrated properly or not. Is a great line by your buddy. They have a quarterback in DJ Lagway they think is a Heisman Trophy candidate, and they don't even come close to meeting those expectations. I think part of the problem, though, too, is the media and is the buildup and creation of the expectations from outside. Because we're now in this world where there's so much transfer portal activity and so much turnover, we are making the argument these teams are going to be good just because we know who the guys' names are when they're coming back. Like that is an antiquated notion now. Because we knew Cade Klubnik and Clemson, we knew their offensive line, we knew some of their weapons, doesn't mean they're going to be good. It just means we know what they were as last year, and we are assuming that they're going to improve as a collective and improve as individuals. That's not how it works. And we're assuming because we don't know other teams, we can see a guy someplace and we can see somebody here and we can say they could work and you can be excited about, but you don't know. We are literally choosing the devil that we do know instead of the devil we don't when it comes to these preseason rankings. More and more, they're just a waste of time and energy. Problem is they're never going away because TV. Those little numbers next to the names sell matchups early in the season. So they're not going away, but they influence how people expect to see their team on the field and what level you're going to see on the field. And when those don't match up, those coaches are in even hotter spots. Go ahead.
How are we arriving at these buyouts? You brought up the buyouts earlier, and I didn't necessarily answer your question. Like these numbers. Like remember Mel Tucker at Michigan State? He had one good year, and they obscene. I mean, like these prisoner of the moment. Remember Kevin White at Notre Dame? Charlie Weiss had one good year. They gave him just an astronomical deal. These prisoner of the moment. We have to retain this guy after one good season, or agreeing to these buyout numbers. Is this where we are? I mean, you think, is there any cautionary tale from all of this, or does this continue to grow?
I think this model will change. I think everything in college sports has changed. This is not. And I do think this is where athletic departments and presidents are going to start to say, okay, we are in this situation now where we have these budgetary constrictions. For the first time ever, we have a salary cap of $20.5 million we can spend. Every Power 4 team is doing that, by and large. They're trying to figure out the prioritization across sports, and they're trying to spend that money there, still invest in facilities, make sure their players are getting compensated outside of that through legal NIL, and I use my quotations. They're trying to figure that part out, whether that's legal or not. They know that these players need to be compensated more. I mean, good example, some of the best basketball teams in the country that are in Power 4 leagues had their budgets cut because in the NIL world, they were spending $6, $7, $8, $9 million. Now the school's only giving them $4 million. So you got to make up this gap. So the schools under these new budgetary restrictions, we're hearing all this talk about private money coming into college sports. The Big Ten may do something with the California Pension Fund. Florida State's been talking about private equity for a couple years. If those guys and girls come in, that is run like a business. You have to run that thing like a business. If it's for their facilities, for money for facilities, I think that makes more sense. If they're going to run your department or part of your department, this notion that we have to guarantee a coach's contract if he stinks to the tune of $50, $60, $70 million, I don't think they're going for that. And I think the presidents it's a harder sell to them to say, okay, you're telling me we have to guarantee this guy $70 million. What if we think this guy is almost equally as good? We will guarantee more money investment in facilities. We'll guarantee more investment in our NIL monetization platform we're trying to work through. But we're not going to give him a guaranteed contract of $60 million. His guarantee will be $25 million. You're telling me we can't sell that deal in this new era? If we can't sell that deal, then I'll hire somebody else. Because I know a coach with the arrogance and belief that they can win at that program is not coming in saying, hey, man, if I fail, I need my full 60 instead of 25. Most of these guys want the opportunity. At the level of program we're talking about, they want to go win a title. Mm-hmm. So you're giving them that too. And you're giving them the resources. But what you're not doing anymore is saying, I'm going to guarantee a $50, $60, $70 million buyout. I think that has to be the next move. Because especially if there are outside money coming in here, there is no value in that cost. That is a sunk cost over years that you are paying that you can't get back. Everything else you're investing in, the players, the brand, the facilities, that's a sunk cost. And if you're going to run this like a business, you got to start looking at it like a business and find a way to alter the model and find a guy that will coach for you for slightly less guaranteed if they suck.
Yeah, it's a great point. The sunk cost is a great point, because I think the assumption is, well, with these massive buyouts, well, they can just go out and get one donor or a collection of really rich donors to foot that bill. The problem is when you are fundraising within these athletic departments, like you can't continue to go back to that well. In other words, somebody pitches in to pay off a $45 million buyout. Well, a year later, you're trying to build, a new building or whatever. You're trying to finance something new, and you go back to that donor and say, "Look, man, I gave you 20 mil, in the way of firing." Like that money. You say, well, it has nothing to do with other fundraising. No, this is all tied together. I mean, and I'm not in that world, but I think it would end up becoming prohibitive. So your point about sunk cost is really, really good, because I think there's this misunderstanding that, well, these donors are just going to foot this bill, and then we'll just continue to do business as usual. And I just don't think that is exactly working out that way.
Yeah, when the money is coming in nonstop, and think about this too, the athletic departments, because of how they were run, and the universities are 501c3s a lot of times, and there's different tax exempt statuses, and you're trying to spend your budget. They wanted to run in the red at times to prove that to the state, and we need this budget. We need more money. It's just like a marketing department in a huge company like Verizon. Their goal used to be to spend your marketing budget. If you don't spend it, the CEO's not going to give it to you. So they need to continue to spend their budget and burn through cash without concern in the world, because you continue to make money. You have a free labor force. That whole world has changed. You no longer have a free labor force. You need to run this as a business. You're trying to seek out potential investment from private companies, from private equity interests to help you run your business. The model has to change. Like everything else has changed in the world. To continue to do this is bananas when you think about the amount of the price tag on some of this stuff. And as you mentioned before, football is just so important that yes, the donors will pony up to pay out a buyout. But there's a finite level of resources. That same guy, like you said, you can't just keep going back to them and asking for more and more and more millions and think they're always going to be there to deliver. There's got to be a change in the model.
The other thing this cycle continues to do is make currently successful coaches even richer. Like Marcus Freeman is going to sign another deal now.
Yep.
For the Notre Dame. And I actually don't think Marcus Freeman has any interest in leaving Notre Dame to go to Penn State or anywhere. But his agent does. His agent's is gonna play that. It's just that's the other Lane Kiffin. I mean, it's just the same names now, especially again going back to the point of you bring Mike Norvell, you want to give a guy from Memphis a shot. Mm-hmm. Billy Napier, guy from Louisiana, give him a shot. These guys don't pan out. Well, we got to go out and get the known commodities.
And Kurt Cignetti, his is $11 million now for over 8 years. So he went from making a couple $1 million a few years ago, then at JMU a couple million more, and now he gets he had 5 I think in Indiana when he signed the deal, which was last summer, so summer of 24. He has that great 24. He gets bumped to $8 million. Now he's up to 11. He's top 5 in the country.
Well, and this is probably a much longer conversation, diverting. But how about the world we're living in now too? I mean, Cignetti's a good point. It's a counter to what I was just saying. But how about the world we're living in now, where Indiana's number 2 in the country and Vanderbilt? What are they? They just bumped up. Are they in the top 10? Up, yeah. I mean, Clark Lee.
They should be. They went from 17 to something close.
Yeah, and everybody, there is there more parity? I mean, I think we need probably a larger sample size under the new transfer environment we're living in. But is there more parity in the world, or is the growth of those programs the product of Cignetti, who had great success, as you said before, he got to Indiana, and it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's a broader conversation. Everybody's kind of having. I think this week is when there have been a couple pieces written about that. We've been talking about the parity, and there's no. I think the difference is there aren't 1 or 2 just completely dominant teams, and that's this year. And last year, bear in mind, Oregon did go undefeated. And then Ohio State had lost twice, and they came back and looked great in the playoffs. Like, I think everybody's just a little bit closer. But this is just, to your point, samples. This is 1 year. Like, I hope this is more like it, honestly. If we go forward and there are 15 or 20 teams that can win a championship, it feels more NFL-like. Week in and week out, the results, especially in the SEC, like their margin of victory, I think this was a Dan Wetzel line, cite my sources, but like the margin of victory in the SEC is like 11 points or 10 points. The NFL this year is like 11 points. Yeah. Like that's kind of surprising that it's that's great. But to have these sweeping generalizations that this has been fully democratized and it's always going to be different, I think it's premature. I'm enjoying this year, but to extrapolate it out in the future, TBD.
Well, and it's making the job head coaching harder. I mean, player development. What is that when you have a guy for a year? And anyway, and I'm not crying tears for coaches, but it becomes much less predictable year over year.
For sure. Which is, I mean, to your point, that's why when you have the leverage, you get that new deal. And if they're going to keep giving you these guaranteed deals, you ink the hell out of that thing, because to your point, it can go. Mike Norvell is we are 14 months removed. We are 2 years under 2 years removed from a 13-0 season. Yeah. 2-10, and now he's in a situation where if he survives this year, I'd be shocked. And they beat Alabama in week 1, and they just beat them. They beat the doors off them. They owned them.
Well, that's the thing too, man. This is happening, so there's no grace period. I mean, Penn State was in the CFP semifinal, right? Do I have that right? Last year.
They were, but again, it's who they beat. They beat Boise and SMU. So although they get there, their fan base says it's not that impressive, but you're in the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean that's where now, okay, we're going to start characterizing the wins within the CFP. I'm not saying you, I'm saying fans are certainly doing that. And
Absolutely.
it's like, again, calibration of expectation. Like where are you, what do you expect, and where does that fit in with the reality?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why fan is short for fanatic. Reality does not always sync up. Anything else there?
No, sir.
All right, let's move on to one of our favorite topics in the pod, but I think it's broader, is the Formula One rights have gone to Apple. And I think we talk about media rights on this pod a decent amount on the business side of this whole conglomerate of sports. ESPN had it since the late 20 teens. Just real quick to set up the backdrop of how much this has changed and why, and before I get to the next point about the marketplace and whatnot. But in 2019, ESPN was broadcasting these races for free. F1 was giving them the rights just for publicity in America. You go into 2020, pandemic happens, Drive to Survive starts 2 years before that. People start to watch more in America. So 2020 to 2022, $5 million a year. Now this 3-year contract they're under right now went up $75 million, bro. $80 million initially, up to $90 million, I believe, this year. And then Netflix was getting in the mix, reportedly. ESPN was not willing to pay. F1 wanted $100 million a year. And that's were reports of last year, and obviously working for the company at the time, it seemed like ESPN was going to walk away, not going to pay the 9 figures. Well, remember the summer, you had the F1 movie take place. $630 million garnered nationwide. Apple produced that movie. There are talks about doing F1 sequel already. And in comes these guys for a reported $140 to $150 million a year for the next 5 years. So $750 million. We've been talking about Apple and Netflix and Amazon in the right space and kind of the amount of money they can throw around. This is one of the first big examples of them just saying, we're going to overpay the market because we want the property, and we do not care. Now, they have these rights for the next 5 years. We'll see how they actually play out production-wise and who they use and how this all works. But the finances of it, it's kind of what we've talked about in this field for a long time, played out in a pretty big way.
Yeah. Well, this was in the works when they did that F1 movie. I mean, I think F1 was going with Apple this entire time. And the thing about ESPN, they know their value, man. I mean, they knew it when it came to negotiations with Major League Baseball. Like, oh, you don't want to be with, okay, you don't want to renegotiate this deal. Okay, fine, then take a walk. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing here. I mean, ESPN did a great job with that product. I mean, 500,000 viewers. You know these numbers better than I. 500,000 viewers a few years ago. They doubled that to 1.2. I think they're doing around 1.4 this year. I mean, they have done a nice job domestically with that product. I just wish that Stefano Domenicali, is that his name, the guy who runs? I just wish he would come out and say what this is about. This is about $50 million more that Apple was willing to pay than ESPN. I just spare us all the rhetoric of, this is F1 has always been about luxury brands, and it has been about the most money. Who is willing to pay the most money possible? And Apple was willing to pay $50 to $60 million more than ESPN was willing to pay. Spare us the branding and, this is a culture. Apple is a culture brand, and they're gonna put us. It's in the pocket of everybody. All of these sort of, maybe that happens, but in the here and now, this was about money, and I just wish, and this was in the works. I mean, that movie was a huge success, and it did a lot for F1. That's where all these quotes, I can't in a lot of ways take it seriously. Like, just tell us this about more money. They were willing to pay us.
And you are right. I mean, ESPN did a great job with the property. I was fortunate to cover 6 races with them and see the investment they were making across platforms and building out installations like at Austin, the top of the hill there. It was like they were going to make that a permanent set if they did the deal beyond this year. They didn't do that, and it does come down to dollars and cents. The movie was critical because Apple got to see how it was worked to be able to work with F1, but F1 did give them, which part of the sport, amazing access. I mean, they were on the grid. Brad Pitt standing there next to the guys right before they run a race. They're doing, formation laps with them out there, like crazy stuff to make sure this movie felt real, as they knew it was a moneymaker and his big branding piece. But the big piece about this, beyond the actual dollars and cents of just this deal, this is why all these sports and all these brands are trying to open up different markets. The F1 market, U.S. was been dormant. As I just told you, in 2019, the rights fee were free. Mm-hmm. Now your rights are gonna garner you $160 million, $150 million per year, because you found a partner that helped grow it with you. You had a hit show on Netflix, but you invested in this market. We have 3 races in this country. No other country has that. Italy has 2. Now Italy's going to lose one of those. There's a reason for that. They have all these different brands. Aston Martin, McLaren, Mercedes have all these F1 people now working out of New York and out of LA and out of Miami to maximize the American market. This is also why Bad Bunny is part of the halftime show. Because this is the same thing. The NFL, this is why we're playing games in Sao Paulo and in Mexico City and in Germany and in France and in England over and over and over again in England. Because the market in America for the NFL is fully saturated. And they don't care if you're not going to watch Bad Bunny. Do you know why? Because you're still going to watch the game. And if you're not, as we've said before, at this point, it doesn't even matter. The ratings are irrelevant for the NFL and the NBA. Live rights matter. As long as you carry cultural significance in our country with the NFL, the ratings are crushing it every week. So if you want to protest and not watch the Super Bowl halftime show or not watch the NFL, they do not care. They just signed a deal for, $20 billion with their partners over the next 8 or 9 years, just the last year. That ship has sailed. Mm-hmm. The thing now for them is, what other markets can we open? Because they want to do exactly what F1 just did. Is in a new market that used to give you no revenue, is now going to give you $750 million over the next 5 years. And the assumption is, if they do a good job and they're strong, we're going to build on that after 5 years. And we're going with $200 million because we've opened a new marketplace. That's what this was. An investment was for F1. This was the decision, to your point. It's all about dollars and cents. They've opened up this market in a different way. This is why the NFL does the same thing. This is why the NBA is trying to do the same thing. We've already seen this in soccer. And I will tell you this now, because I'm sure we'll talk about it in a few months. Barcelona is playing their first ever league game in America, in Miami, on December 20th. Same deal. Like, La Liga sees themselves slipping in terms of their market penetration in America. The English Premier League has a foothold here. How do we get a stronger foothold? Let's take our biggest brand, or one of our 2 biggest brands, and put them a league game halfway around the world in Miami. Okay, here we go. Let's do that. They'll do whatever it is to try to find a space in a new marketplace. And for F1 and for soccer, that new marketplace is America. And for the NFL, it's in Europe and it's in South America. It's pretty easy to understand, but I feel like a lot of times, like the Bad Bunny thing just brings up people just not getting, you're the audience, but you're not really the audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and how do you get to those audiences? I mean, like, one of the quotes from Domenicali, I read it in an Athletic piece. He says, here, I got it right here. He says, this deal with Apple, quote, will enable us to get into the minds of the American fans. In the U.S., to be relevant, you need to be part of the culture. You wake up in American houses, you talk about sport, and you talk about events. That's really the aim we want to have with Apple. I think that's a misunderstanding of how sports are talked about first and foremost here in this country. It starts through ESPN. I mean, do I have that wrong?
No, still does.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's waking up and saying, yo, this MLS game I saw on Apple last night, I mean, you should have seen this thing. Like, I read the other day, Leo Messi's like the 2-time MVP, just won the whatever it is.
The most goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
The leading scorer in the league, yeah.
I didn't even know he was still in MLS. I had no idea that Leo Messi was still participating in this whole.
Do you know why you don't know anymore? But you knew at the beginning? To your point. ESPN was running his highlights nonstop. They had people following him around 2 summers ago. Guess what? They don't do that anymore. So he's just fallen off the map to people.
So that's what I'm saying about your words don't match the reality. Just tell us that this was about more money. Stop trying to rationalize this decision by getting into American culture and trying to get into the minds of Americans. And Americans wake up and they talk about the NFL and they talk about these other sports. Yeah, those conversations are largely driven, not just by ESPN, but largely driven by ESPN. And yet you have made a decision. I mean, again, you know more about the MLS. You know more about all of this than I do. I a lot of times pretend. I don't want
I
to
don't know
talk
about
about
that.
these rights deal. But the fact of the matter is, MLS is out there in the ether. Nobody knows about it. And the promise, it seems, from Apple to F1 is, and the F1 movie was advertised like crazy. And so the promise is, well, we're going to advertise F1 like we did the movie and all of that. But if that's your strategy to get into the American market or to continue to grow the American market the way that ESPN did, I don't see it. But again, I don't know.
You're citing his quote there was really, I think, a great point, because what he's missing there is, yes, Americans do talk about sport. It's the sport you watched. It's what you saw last night. You have to be able to see the content. So to your point, when Messi's behind a paywall on MLS Season Pass, stop traffic. I don't have that. I have everything else that every soccer fan in America has to have. You got Peacock, I got Peacock. You got Paramount Plus, I got Paramount Plus. I had Fubo TV for a period of time. Like you had ESPN Plus because you got to watch La Liga and you got to watch Bundesliga. I drew the line at MLS. We don't talk about it enough, and I don't need to pay $50 a month to watch every game that I'm not. Your product's not good enough. So you've literally, on the games that are free sometimes, I might tune in occasionally. But it's just not dominant enough in our world, and a guy that covers soccer, to have to talk about that, to pay that price. You gave up what you used to be on was ESPN and Big Fox, and people would come across games. People I knew, friends I knew, you'd come in at MLS Cup, maybe you'd come up in the semifinals, whatever. But you are taking in the product at some point just by being passive and flipping on a channel and going through your habits. You have to seek out the product to watch on Apple. So he is missing the connection of, you can advertise the crap out of it, but the growth of the sport with the casual fan is huge. And soccer has suffered a little bit in our country because everything's behind a paywall. Soccer more broadly. The only league that's easily to be seen on TV anymore is the English Premier League. That is still the most watched league in our country, still the most followed league, because you will have casual fans tune into USA or tune into Big NBC like yesterday and see Manchester United take on Liverpool, because they're two brands you recognize, and it's 11:30 on a Sunday, and you might be sitting on your couch. But if that's only on Peacock, their streaming service, that's only on Apple TV, you've lost all those people. So I do think that they're going to see their money come in their coffers, and they're going to expect more when they get to the end of this rights deal. And maybe Apple's going to find a way, as technology changes, and the younger generation is driving a lot of the F1. The audience is half women, which is a huge difference as well than most of our sports. Maybe they'll see what they want in terms of viewership and growth and relevance. But where you're not going to be is on Good Morning America every time there's a U.S. race or leading up to a U.S. race. You're not going to be on ESPN every time you have a race. You're not going to have reporters on ESPN every time at a race. It just won't exist anymore. So if you want to be part of the conversation, you got to be where the people are. And I think they wanted the money, but they may have jumped the shark. Just like we're seeing it in soccer, and we're trying to battle through this as we come on a 2026 American World Cup, based American World Cup. And there are more casual fans that haven't taken in soccer matches in forever that maybe used to do that because you could see a game as you flipped around the channel.
How would you compare F1 viewership in America versus soccer viewership? In other words, is there a path for F1 to have more success via Apple in the U.S. than the MLS?
Well, two things. Yes, for the MLS for sure, because I think Americans, by and large, we will watch the best product, the best thing available. The English Premier League is the best league in the world. It is the most akin to the NFL in the fact that anybody seems they can beat anybody. You have more recognizable players. You have the most money there. And I think people will tune it. That's why partially soccer fans broadly will watch that league more than any other, because you're seeing the best product. F1 is undoubtedly the best motorsports product. And it is the male soap opera. It has the Netflix piece of it too. With Drive to Survive there, gets so many people involved and invested in the stories that you don't see on a race weekend necessarily. And again, the demographics of that are very attractive, and they're very heavily, skewing women in terms of just being 50-50. Like, that's unique in our sports culture. Where MLS falls, MLS is not the best product. It does not have household names, and you have it behind a paywall. So you can promote it as much as you want. I don't think Americans are going to go to it. And it's your local team, you watch your local team, but it's not a national thing. F1 is a national thing, and it's one race. It's 24 races a year. I think they have a better chance of success, but success is also relative. If the goal is to be in the culture and discussed every day, like Domenicali said, you've pretty much flushed that down the toilet. Your hope now is, can you be economically viable and get more subscriptions and get more relevance and be aware on all the social and digital platforms you're there and you're prevalent, and that helps you grow the bottom line and grow viewership and ultimately grow your grow the dollars for Apple in terms of subscriptions, which then wants them to renew. That's their model, subscription-based model with that Apple TV Plus. That's the goal. They might be able to achieve that goal. We already know MLS right now, that goal is not being achieved. It is not done well in terms of driving subscriptions. It is a different proposition, though. But the relevance from a cultural standpoint in a day in and day out conversation, you left that behind. When you leave linear TV in some of our traditional media powers, and particularly ESPN, you pretty much have just turned your back on that goal. All right, with that said, let me ask you a question. Social Replay Podcast at gmail.com. Social Replay Podcast at gmail.com. Let me ask you a question. Before we get to ours, let me pull up. We had a listener question this week that I thought was very straightforward. Kind of touches on our conversation earlier about coaching. But I did want to ask it because it's a dejected fan question that you would get, and of course it involves one of our more enjoyable topics on this podcast, so it had to be read. So Christine, thank you for the question. Very simple. Let me ask you a question. Which football fan would you rather be right now? UNC or Virginia Tech? And for our audience, Virginia Tech, Brent Pry just got let go earlier this year. They lost to Old Dominion again. The team has not been successful. UNC, we know the dumpster fire that it is. Right now, they lost again to Cal at the weekend. So, Captain.
You go first.
This is a no-brainer to me. I would kill to be a Virginia Tech fan. Like, I do not need my name rubbed in the mud week in and week out and just see the dumpster fire and hear the articles and listen to Jordan and all this other nonsense where you wonder what is UNC football going to be. If you're Virginia Tech, you're bummed. Brent Pry, great guy. Some good times with him at different company events through the years covering the ACC. But he didn't get it done. That's fine. So with that said, I would rather be Virginia Tech. They're investing a lot of money as a school, like $80 million in sports again. They're trying to come back. They're going to hopefully hire the right guy. There is potential hope and there's optimism as we bottom this thing out, but we invest money. And can we get Virginia Tech back to where it once was? UNC football has never really been there. They've never really been that relevant in the last 30 years. And they're a dumpster fire right now with a coach that is going to do it his way or probably never going to leave. So I would wholeheartedly be a Hokie fan in a heartbeat relative to a Tar Heel fan.
Yeah, I would agree for largely the same reason. Virginia Tech's a football school. And Carolina's pretending to be a football school. And strategically have not gone about it the right way. So I would... the scene there at Virginia Tech is, for a football game, is phenomenal. And that's they have been a football school. They have had success as a football school. They are a traditional football school. And so if the question is strictly about who would you rather be a football fan of, it's got to be Virginia Tech.
Without a doubt. Thank you, Christine. But I hope you're a Tech fan. If you're a Tar Heel fan, good luck. Enjoy more Jordan.
You're in trouble.
You're in big trouble, girl. All right. Would you like to go first or want me to go first?
Yeah, I could go first. I can go first. All right. Had a situation over the weekend where we were at a coffee place and we had there were 10 of us in our group, okay? And we waited in line. There were 2 or 3 people ahead of us who were getting coffee. So we had to wait in line before it was our turn. And there was a guy behind us in line. So we finally get up. It's our turn to order. And we order 10 different drinks. Now, 5 of them are hot chocolates for the kids. All right. Kids want their hot chocolates.
I thought these were all 10 adults, but that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the kids wanted a vanilla latte. That was my daughter, Mackenzie.
Oh, wow.
She comes by it honestly. Vanilla latte. Of course. Over hot chocolate, certainly. And then the adults had their drinks. So we had 10 drinks we ordered. And the guy behind us was visibly annoyed. Visibly. He kind of huffed and he made a face and so we're standing there, my brother-in-law, me, and my wife Jamie saw this guy visibly annoyed, making a face. So we get outside and we're talking about this. And I actually start to mount a defense for the guy. Jamie's appalled by this guy. And I started to mount a defense. I said, look, I mean, we ordered 10 drinks. We've all been there. One of the worst things is at an airport, you're at a Starbucks, you finally get towards the front of the line, and the person in front of you has like 6 breakfast orders and then 4 different drinks. Annoying, right? Mm-hmm. Her thing was, well, you can be annoyed about it, but you can't be visibly annoyed. So, my question to you: what is your take on this? Person in front of you has an order of 10 drinks. Where are you at?
I think you know where I'm at. I'm huffing and puffing. I'm being that guy. It's terrible, but it's exactly what I'm doing. I mean, I did it yesterday. We had to stop at Whole Foods real quick. I had to get a cupcake for Lear. Kelsey wanted one of the prepared meals or whatever. So I go to the counter. Lady in front of me, it was like 3 different cold cut orders. Right away, I'm like, oh, God, Jesus. I can't help myself because I'm here. All I want is, boom, I want the chicken, this. Let's go. Get me out of here. But now I'm stuck. You got to do 3 different things. I'm not kidding. The guy behind the counter was 85 years old. Your boy was in a mood. Like, we got to go. And, of course, I call Kelsey. I'm like, there's no sweet potatoes. Do you want something else? And she's like, what are you all upset about? I'm like, this is going to take forever. So I'm literally audibleizing a little bit what you're saying. So I'm sorry, Jamie. I'm sorry to anybody behind. But I have no patience for this. And granted, I've probably been that, especially when there's kids involved. I've now been on the other side of it. But if you're the person waiting, I'm always just going to be a dick, for lack of a better word. You?
Well, and it puts... Yeah, I mean, again, I mounted a defense for the guy. Now, I guess it's a 2-part question. Do you have a right to be annoyed? And I think we certainly agree, yes. And she was amenable to that. She's like, yeah, I can understand. But she was like, you cannot be visibly annoyed. You cannot, in any way, shape, or form, let others know that you are annoyed by this. And I was like, well, I mean, we've all been there.
I almost want you to know I'm annoyed. I think that's part of the problem is I want you to know you're putting me out. You've impacted my day negatively. I want you to be aware of this. That's hence the huff and puff. That is all the antics that I'm doing back here are for you to know this sucks. Now, I understand where you're coming from. I've probably been there now, especially having kids. Understand the deal. But this sucks.
Yeah, I just, what do you do? Should you split up your order, let the guy go? Do you let him go in front of you, but I don't know what his order? See, the thing at a supermarket, when you get behind somebody who's got a cart full of stuff, you at least know that going in.
Well, yeah, but that's where you're trying to pick the right lane here, and then you can always mess that up.
And it was your choice. And I knew they had a cart full of stuff.
I went to the counter to get my prepared meal. It's the best deal at Whole Foods, Bo. $12. You get a protein, 2 sides. The best thing there. It's great. It's the cheapest thing. The only affordable thing in that store is that. A full meal for $12. But the lady in front, you have the same person doing the cold cuts. So that was her. I don't know what she's going to order. But as soon as she said, can I have a half pound of roast beef, a half pound of turkey, and a thing of Munster, I was like, oh, brother.
Deli counter's another one. That's another one.
That's what I mean. The deli counter was, it was brutal.
Good call.
They need to separate that at Whole Foods. I need a deli counter person. I need a prepared food person. Yeah. I need 2.
Yo, this is a funny story. This summer, we go to the beach out at Emerald Isle here in North Carolina, and we're in the grocery store, and standing right next to me is Dave Odom, who is a friend. He's a good guy. I love Dave Odom. To the point where there were a few people in front of us. Finally, Dave was in front of us. His number, so to speak, was in front of us. So Dave gets up there, and his order, I mean, it was a laundry list of stuff. I was like, Coach, my God, we're going to be here for 3 hours while they prepare your order. Well, we got a lot of grandkids back at the... Okay, can we split it up? I mean, my God. I'm just ordering a pound of turkey, and I got to wait 25 minutes for you.
But this is to your point. You can't let the person behind you go ahead because you don't know.
Yeah.
Unless you say to somebody like, hey, you should there are certain situations I can't where you can see a group of people and hey, you can go ahead, or I have a group of people like TSA sometimes. If I have the family there and it's a solo dude and I can see it, I'm like, hey, go ahead. Yeah. We're gonna be rejiggering stuff here for a few. Hey, go ahead. But when you're done an order situation, I have no idea what you're ordering either. So no, even if I know mine's obscene, I'm still gonna go and do it.
Yeah.
But I understand the guy behind me to give me as much business as possible. As much as you possibly can muster, I know it's coming and it's okay.
Well, with the guy yesterday with the coffees, I didn't see it. So this was all a report when we got outside and she was complaining about it. And that's why I was like, well, I mean, I can understand the guy. If I had seen it, though, the visible annoyance, what is my responsibility? Do I say nothing? Or do I turn around and be like, hey, man, we got a problem here? What's the deal? Now, understand also, we were in Banner Elk, North Carolina, which is significant MAGA country. So two things. You know that they're quick to rage. They're quick to fight. And two, he could be packing. So several considerations in MAGA country when you're engaging in this type of a confrontation. All right.
Huge
But
context.
what is my responsibility? My wife sees the visible annoyance as the man. Although we have stand a much better chance if Jamie's the one engaging in throwing hands versus me. We know that. We know my boxing record was only 500.
2-2.
Yeah, 2-2. What is the man's responsibility, though, if you do see the visible annoyance of the guy behind you?
Here's how I like to play these things. As long as there's no word said, like he's not affronting your wife or you guys in any way. I almost like just to revel in the fact that you're going to be bothered, and I'm just going to like, hey, great day. I'm so excited for today. Kids are great. Like, just couldn't be more pleasant with everything in my orbit.
Kill him
knowing
with
that
kindness.
you're miserable.
Is that what you're saying?
I was like, yeah. Like I said, he has full license to be mad. I have full license to make my order, and if I want to rub some salt in it because I don't like his visible, maybe he's overdoing it. In my opinion, I can overdo it right back. But mine's just going to be just pleasant as punch, and I'm enjoying my order right now, and we're having a great time here. Great time. Tough break for you, bud.
Yeah, I like that tact. I like that.
It's better than throwing hands.
No
Especially
question.
in a country. I'm not doing that. End up shivved or shot. Not a good idea. All right, let me. I got a couple here that I want to get through here, but which one's best for this week? All right, let's go with this. So let me ask you a question. They've come out with a lot of studies recently about, start with alcohol in particular. Used to be 1 glass of red wine a day was good for you. That has been debunked in the last months. I feel like in my timeline on Instagram is all I hear about is how bad alcohol is for you. Carcinogenic, these different things with sleep, all these different things. Yeah. The more there's different foods. Don't put rice in the fridge overnight. I feel like I've got a lot of content in my social media feed telling me what to eat and what not to eat, and what's healthy or things I used to think were healthy or not unhealthy. Back and forth.
So
let me ask you a question.
What the algorithm is saying about Dalen Cuff there.
Who knows? It's an unhealthy bastard. Let me ask you a question. If a food is deemed unhealthy, what food or drink or substance are you concerned with for your health that may make you think, do I need to change habits?
Alcohol.
Okay, you hit it.
Alcohol. And a lot of it too, man, starts with how it makes me feel. So I don't know. I mean, I don't drink that much anymore. Really only socially. And even then, I don't really drink that much because of I see a lot of what you're talking about. But again, like, how much can you trust these days? You know, like, who knows what the science actually is. So I go with how it makes me feel. And my body, for whatever, it just cannot metabolize alcohol anymore. It just can't. I feel like shit when I drink. I mean, I just do. And I don't sleep well. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth to that. Mm-hmm. There are other things that I enjoy doing more. So I don't know, man. I would start with alcohol. And that being the foremost one that I am engaging with and wondering, and it sort of has happened naturally. Again, probably mostly because of how it makes me feel, but it's just sort of evolved where, yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right.
Tell you what, I mean, I see all this stuff with alcohol, and I'm like, yeah, I should drink less. I have the opposite problem than you. I feel phenomenal when I drink. And I'm working out great in the mornings. It's not helping me change habits. I'm like, I don't feel bad at all. If that happens, that would help me adjust that habit. But that one was the one, that substance has been the one that I feel like I've seen the most that made me think about this. For me, if they come out with any study that, artificial protein powder or protein bars are unhealthy, I might be dead in a week. Like I consume way too much, synthetic protein that I need to like probably reassess this before they come out with the study. Like if that happens, I'd be like, dude, you got it. This is not good, because there's like every day it's in every shake, protein bar as like a meal substitute at times, because running around like it is not a good look. But if they come out with that, I need to do some like that might have to like completely readjust. I probably should either way, because it just can't be anything in moderation. It's not like excessive. It's just if it's an everyday habit, is that beyond moderation? Is that excessive? I don't know. But with something like that, that's been marketed as healthy and marketed what your body needs to recover from workouts or whatnot, but is the right way to go.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're doing there with that question. I mean, because there's a lot of stuff that I will partake in that I know. Like for example, I had a massive bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch the other night, and I mean I've read more things about how Cinnamon Toast Crunch is terrible for you. I've got a bit of a bad French fry habit. I mean, I'm a bit of a connoisseur. I dabble and yeah.
As a connoisseur, what is your most appreciated French fry?
Well, for example, if you came to Durham, I would tell you top 10 French fry establishments in the town. I may start going like Portnoy's got his pizza reviews. I may start going French fry reviews. Just complete plagiarism of his bit. Yeah. So there are things I know that are not good, but I still am like, I mean, am I dialing this back? Now you, Mr. 3 shakes a day, I can understand if synthetic protein became a problem.
It's one shake, but it is one shake a day plus a protein bar. It's two helpings per day.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
Concerned if that content
I take a fish oil. I take an omega-3 every morning. If they were like, stop doing that immediately, I would do that. If eating too much fish became, I know the mercury is a thing. If that became like an overwhelming study,
the mercury?
Yeah, there's too much mercury.
The mercury?
Mercury. How do you say that word? Mercury or mercury?
Mercury. Meerkat.
Mercury. There's too much. How do you say Did you say doppelganger or doppelganger?
Well, I'm not German, so doppelganger, but it might be doppelganger if your name is Hans. I don't know.
Well, it is a German word, I believe.
Yeah, no,
yeah. Anyway, there was too much mercury in the fish. I would dial that back.
I need to get more. I used to eat a lot more. I went pescatarian a couple before Leo was born. Probably the best I ever felt. It's phenomenal. I was living in Florida. Yeah, I was living in Florida.
Was that placebo?
Huh?
Was that placebo effect, or were you genuinely feeling better?
I felt that was part of. I was the height of zero gluten. That I was just eating really clean. Zero gluten. I would only eat like vegetables with, what isn't even like brown rice. It was only vegetables with like fish most times, or like beans or legumes, something else as a substitute for the protein part of the meal. Felt phenomenal, but untenable with a kid. Like once we started Malia and tried to like, it was in the beginning part of her life, we still did that. Once she started eating real food, it was like the attempt to make 2 meals every meal. We were out. That was. Yeah. I was like, give me the turkey meat. Give me the chicken. We're getting right back on the wagon. Okay, occasional red meat. Let's go. Come on, because this is not tenable.
Yeah, yeah. You realize how hard some of those diets are and expensive.
And in the Northeast, we're just insanely expensive. Like we live in Fort Lauderdale, but like the fish markets, right? And then you were getting it was great deals. Like you can't do that here. There's no freaking way.
Yeah.
Again, Whole Foods, half a pound of salmon, $87. It's great. All right. With that said, that's a podcast. Social Replay Podcast. Rate, review, subscribe. Social Replay Podcast. Rate, review, subscribe. We'll see you next time. All right. Ready to do intro?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1. What's up? Coming up on Social Replay Podcast, the captain and I discuss quite a bit. We get first and foremost into the firings in college football. Not just the reaction, but the marketplace, and will these buyouts remain the same as we move forward? The timing of these, or these placating fans. We cut this in a lot of different ways. Also, Formula One now is a new partner. Apple, $150 million a year reported for the next 5 years. Live rights remain the most valuable thing in television, and also, of course, opening up new markets is a big piece of this.
Yeah, and our Let Me Ask You a Question got into somebody in front of you in line, call it a coffee shop, orders in bulk, massive order. How annoyed can you become at that, and how visibly annoyed are you allowed to become at that? And then what food or drink product, that you partake in, if you realize or there was some overwhelming science that said that is no longer good for you, you should not be doing that, would you stop? Would you stop at that? Did I have that right?
You nailed it, and I got a red flag. If something comes out about this, your boy might be dead in a week. Let's
Yeah.
roll. All right.